Yes, yes, yes. We are back for another cocktail conversation in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor, and joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herbert Lewis. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. The topic for tonight is homie, lover, friend. Yeah, I know that phrase is old from the 90s or whatever the case is. But again, like the great Dr. Pappalardo told me in Counseling 101, this stuff don't change. That might be an old terminology, but it's still very much relevant in today's world. Um, so many people out here chasing the silver bullet, looking for the ideal mate but they never consider the process of finding a homie, lover, friend to be the answer. So let's look at three questions in regards um, to that. Number one, should they be someone that you can hang out with without being bored or out of your mind? So obviously, you want it to be somebody like, man, no matter what we do, we enjoy each other, whether we're watching movies, whether we go bowling, go shoot some darts, pool, or walk in the park, we always just laughing and have the best time. Number two, should they be someone that knows how to hold it down in the romance department? So you had that chemistry with this person. Like y'all have tremendous chemistry. And when y'all come together, it's always explosive, euphoric, and it keeps you coming back. Number three, most importantly, should they be a person who you can genuinely trust, who knows everything there is to know about you? Not doubt if anybody ever would know everything about you, but that's the person that you could trust. At your lowest points, you could share things with them. They never betrayed your confidentiality, things that shared, so you're close and you have a strong connection. Now, here is the actual scenario, homie, lover, friend. Olivia has turned her life around, where she used to be wild and do things without thinking. But ever since her daughter came into this world, she has made a complete change. Everything she does is for the betterment of her daughter. At this stage of the game, the dating thing does not work for her based on all the uncertainties that come with it. So she says she will pass on that. Meanwhile, she has been connecting back and forth with one of her homies that they had some dealings off and on over the years. She is ready to reconnect with him because of the safety issues. She knows what she is getting from him. Now, of course, she has needs to be met, and he always fulfilled those needs. And I'm sure he will relish the opportunity to have her again. What are the pros and cons of having a homie lover friend? So we're gonna break that down. And remember, please like and share the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Also, stay tuned and locked in for the $25 stimulus package drawing for the top 10 contributors in the Counselor's Corner. So that's what we got in store tonight. Homie, lover, friend. We got the drawing. I haven't brought the Who Needs Counseling segment back. Been away from that for a couple weeks, but that has to come back. It has to come back. Some of y'all need some damn counseling, and I know with the world opening back up and they're you know kind of releasing all the restrictions and stuff, some of y'all gonna get buck wild, and it's gonna be a lot of different situations and scenarios. And trust me, somehow, some way, I'll always get these. They always fall in my lap. So I'm gonna have to tell people, you need counseling. So don't think that's over with. I know tonight we in competition with not that we really in competition like they base their schedule on us, but Bobby Brown versus Keith Sweat versus I don't know. So that I'm sure that'll be entertaining as well. So, but if you're on here, you want to pop in, feel free to add to this subject because you might be someone right now is debating, the pros and cons to having a homie lover friend. So, Herb, what's good, and what's your take on this homie lover friend situation?
Ah, boy. Ah, R. Kelly made a song about this, I think about maybe about 10, 15 years ago or so. Ah, I'm going to look at this from two perspectives. I'm going to look at this from the perspective of a younger me. A younger me would be all over this. Hook, line, sinker, condoms, hot candle wax, maybe. I'm going in. Um, just because at that aspect of my life, now I'm looking back, it would have been ideal, you know, going over there to scratch that itch, or sun up to sundown man, or sundown to sun up man. That would have been the role I'd have been happily, pleased to fulfill, because it would have gave me the freedom to seek other avenues of satisfaction as well. I can go and come as I please. I don't have to worry about checking in, quote unquote, if you will. I don't have to worry about her getting mad if I don't do something, if I don't show up, or having plans that I have to adhere to. Freedom. I think that's at that age, I think a lot of guys would love to be in that situation. That's one of the reasons why I posted that. And you had asked me the question, well, what's the difference with age? Now, I don't want that. I want a connection. I want an emotional connection to the person I'm doing something with, even if it's quote unquote a friends with benefit situation, which I rarely have anyway. If I'm doing something with somebody, it's somebody I have a connection with. How strong the connection is, that's always, kind of here and there. I might have a stronger connection with one individual than I have with another, but there's always that connection. So that's the difference, for me with this particular type of situation from a younger perspective and an older perspective. Because at some point, and I've said this before, at some point in time, I probably will be married. It's just a matter of when and who, and the situations in terms of if it's somebody from a different country, whatever the case is, we'll work that out. But I'm trying to transition from the job that I'm in now to where I can only, where I only have to work 6 to 8 months out of the year. The rest of the time I can spend vacation, because I'm be 50 this year and I'm not getting any younger. So I want to be able to transition and work on my terms. So that's why debt consolidation and payoff is big for me. And that doesn't really sound like the type of path that young lady is taking. So, like I said, I'm not here to judge anybody. Do what you want to, do what makes you feel free. But the one thing I will say is this: looking back on all the things we've talked about, and the podcasts that I drop in, the live chats that I have a chance to sit on the panel, we are definitely in a time of transition. And I think the way that we dated when we were younger isn't working out as well for a lot of people, as we transition to a different type of economy and a different type of world. So what we look at now in terms of dating, this may ultimately be it, where an individual is only committed up to their level of satisfaction. And some people will probably ask, well, what's the difference between being in that type of relationship and a older type of relationship? Well, the difference is you're not committed. So there's no path to marriage. And if you have kids, you'll have kids, and the two involved will decide how they're going to raise those kids. So you're talking no marriage, no legal commitment, none of the financial aspects of the bonuses that comes with having a legally binding marriage sanctioned by the state. So you don't get the tax breaks, you don't get to really pass on wealth. And let's say somebody actually gets their feelings involved to the point where they want more, and the other person says, well, you know what you signed up for. This is it. So you're still going to do, somebody's still going to deal with heartbreak in some way, shape, or form. The only question is who and what kind of heartbreak is it going to be?
Now I know Willie said I'm looking for me one of those. I think Josie said connection is the best. I see Alim said I'm about having a serious, monogamous, long-term relationship with one woman. I'm fully entrenched in that. Hopefully one day that becomes a reality for me. But I have zero interest in a homie lover friend arrangement. Say yes to fidelity. Say no to arrangements and entanglements. Josie said, I honestly think that the world is what people make it. If people lower their standards, then that's what it will be. If people raise their standards, then that's what it will be. I don't have to, or I don't feel like anyone has to adjust themselves just to see the way that the world is going. I think that I should vibrate at my level and let everything around me adjust. Willie said, as we get old, I'm finding people are so set in their ways as a result, very difficult to build and develop a permanent relationship. All right. So a lot of good feedback so far. So one of the questions I had, what are the advantages and disadvantages of a homie lover friend arrangement? So what do you think far as that, Herb, like far as advantages? So let me say advantage. I guess for me, I would look at an advantage in that as, okay, I know this person. We're already cool. We're tight. Obviously, we trust each other and we enjoy each other. And we're past that stage of getting to know each other and going through that whole process. So somewhere down the line, we've connected before, and then our paths may travel, and we realize, okay, we what we got going works for us, and it happens. So I think that's a advantage. Now, one of the things when people say a disadvantage, obviously, would be when those things change and someone becomes more comfortable with the situation and they want more. And they may start saying, how long we gonna play this game? We're not getting any younger. We've been doing this for years. Why can't we just try to make a run at it? And then someone said, I really not was, it throws them for a loophole and they're really not ready. And then I think that will cause turmoil in that type of relationship. So that's my take on the advantages and the disadvantages.
Well, the ultimate thing is control. And I think probably women more so today than years past want some type of control in what happens to them, and certainly some saying an outcome. This situation gives them pretty much the ultimate control. They control what guy comes over, when he comes over, what's going to be done, when it's going to be done, and if it's good enough, how it's going to be done. So that always is an issue. Certainly is a problem and an issue. And I always define problems and issues as this. Problems you can work out on your own. Issues you need to seek some professional help. So that's always going to be a problem up into an issue. So this being, or control in the way that I look at it, being the ultimate crux of what people want, this gives them, especially women, the best of both worlds. Guys may say, just like you said, well, I want more. Well, too bad. So what do? Do you, as my one of my old coworkers say, put your feelings in your feet and get to stepping, or do you hang out hoping that something changes? And more often than not, it usually doesn't. So there's some decisions to be made either way. Like I said, man, we're different world, man. Different problems call for different solutions, and if you don't have them solutions or workable solutions in your toolkit or something that you can share with somebody, well, back to the drawing board, man.
Let me see. Marcia said, I'm a woman of a certain age that wouldn't mind having a homie lover friend, as long as we have a mutual understanding that if any feelings will come into play, that we would have an adult conversation, regardless of whether it makes either one of us uncomfortable. As long as we can have communication, honestly. So as you see, some people are with it. Some people are totally against it. And looking at the comments from these past few days when I was posting about this broadcast, it was some people, they were okay with it. They just didn't want things to change. Now we know nothing ever stays the same. And I think that was one of the biggest things. They're like, hey, if they want to do that, and a lot of guys have said, long as she knows that it's going to be other people. And some guy, one of the questions I proposed, like, as a guy, can you handle that? And I had posted this young lady that I admit she was fine as wine, fine as hell. And some guys were saying like it was easy work. I don't know if it's that easy. I don't know if it's that easy. If we remove the macho bravado and stop poking out our chest like, okay, I'm gonna roll with it. But I think at a certain time, there are some guys that's going like, oh, I desire to be with her more than what she's put out there. And some guys will violate the plan or the contract or whatever, not a written contract, but maybe just verbal. Y'all had a agreement. So I think some guys will violate it. I know some will say they're not, but I'm like, yeah, y'all full of crap. Some will.
You know, and that's always there. And like I just said prior, it usually happens one way or another. It's rare that you get two individuals who engage in an intimate relationship where one side or the other does not develop some type of feelings. It's natural. We're human, and for anybody to say that they won't develop some type of feelings, I think they're probably suppressing those feelings so they don't register on a conscious level, but subconsciously, they're always there. Because despite what we like to think of as men and sex being physical, there's also a smidge of an emotional component there. Because if you walked in on this chick and she was getting busy with one of your boys, you would have a problem. And I don't care who says what. There's gonna be some type of feelings some way. Maybe be like, I can't believe this so and so did that. She know we friends. If you're friends, and that's the agreement you have, then you shouldn't care who she's dealing with. When. And I think a lot of us like to pull that wool over our eyes and say, well, you know what? It was just sex. I didn't care. Well, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be speaking about it. And like I said, I'm just speaking from the masculine perspective. I can't really say what the women will say. I know sex for women generally doesn't fall in line with that. I know from what I understand of women and the psychology of how they engage in sex, most women usually, I stress usually, I'm not going to say all, usually want to have some type of emotional connection unless she's just, I can't remember the term, unless she's just the male opposite of I'm sorry, unless she's a nymphomaniac, for males to say that, unless she's just a nymphomaniac, she's just running around randomly having sex. She's dealing with a different set of circumstances. But from what I understand of women, they want to have a more of an emotional connection when they're having sex. Guys, they'll say, oh, whatever, man. So, there's always that. And then we, what happens if she pops up pregnant?
Well, one of the things is the power of understanding the brain between men and women is deep, real deep. And I don't think people understand that. And until you understand, like our brains, we're and some people know that we're wired differently. And then that's why you have to understand why we sometimes have these complications, because unless we can get connected, we're going to always have some of these issues, whatever, because we think different. We're wired differently. Like our senses, sense, smell, touch, all that stuff is totally different. And this is from childhood and your lifespan development. And even when you talk about love languages and all that stuff. So that's why we kind of harp on this stuff, because this isn't no just these conversations isn't it's simple, whatever. Because if it was that simple, then we would have a lot more happy relationships and a lot more peace in families and communities and all that stuff. So we got to work on. We got to go dig deep into the brain, figure out why people are behave the way that they behave. Braden Hips, she's been dropping some powerful things, and she said men are like a motel. If there's a vacancy sign is on, there's a possibility that feelings could arise. If there's no vacancy, then he won't be entertaining it at all. Mm. She said a moe. She said men are like a moe.
I want to focus on what Alan Gaines said. He said a major concern I have is what I would like in terms of relationship is pretty much a pipe dream at this stage of life. As a man in my mid-40s, is this serious? Is a serious monogamous? Pardon me. Is a serious monogamous long-term relationship pretty much on the extinct list or heading that direction fast? We don't know. We're probably not going to actually really see what's come about until about another maybe 5 to 10 years, until Gen Z and millennials actually start to hit to where we are. We'll see how it plays out for them. For us, we could potentially find somebody that aligns with us and wants an old-fashioned relationship like you do, or we could potentially find somebody else that aligns itself with a more modern view of relationship, and this is what they'll have. So it's hard to say at this juncture of the game. We don't know. Nobody knows. Society doesn't know. And it's just, it's almost like the Wild Wild West, if you will. It's a free-for-all. Get in where you fit in. It's almost like the tilt-a-whirl. You get on one of them teacups, man, and buckle that seatbelt and hope you don't get sick on the ride.
Well, since it's only you, Herb, on this panel, and you might have kind of touched on this, have you ever had a homie lover friend? If so, what caused you to choose this arrangement?
I have to think back to probably about maybe about 10, 12, 13 years ago. And kind of what the situation is. I was working midnights. I was at a spot. Her and I happened to meet. Both worked at the same place, a large place, and that's what she wanted. I was like, man, yeah, she fine. Yeah, let me drive this car until the wheels fall off. So yeah, I mean it happens. That's why I said when I was younger, yeah, but now I'm more committed, and that turned out to really run its course. It was hey, some stanky, nasty swing from the chandelier, man. It was I mean, hey, it was what she wanted. It was what I could fulfill, and hey, it went down. Like the song JC said made years ago. It's about to go down, and it went down. So I don't have any regrets. She turned out to be a little bit off the beaten path in terms of her mentality, but I don't begrudge her or anything. That's a personal demon that she has to deal with. I don't know if she ever did or whatever the case was. I know when she was younger, she was going through counseling. I know she was taking some type of medication for it. So I didn't know that aspect of what I was getting into. If I did, I probably would have rethought my decision. But yeah. And what the funny thing about that is college really kind of sort of tends to lend itself to this type of situation. I know at Buff State, the biggest concern, if you weren't committed, was always being caught coming out of somebody's room, what we call, or what's called, creeping. So creeping was always the thing. Where you creeping to now, man? I'm just going home. No, you ain't, man. You generally don't leave this. You don't leave this early. Where you going to, man? Listen, mind your business. And that's how somebody had a homie lover friend. The schedule changed, or they would just randomly get that page, and you had your code for whoever it was. Oh, yo, I gotta bounce. Or you going to see homegirl, man? Yo, keep that on the low, man. Ain't nobody supposed to know about that. So I mean, the dynamics, man. You might be dealing with a female, or you might be dealing with a male, who potentially wants out of a marriage, but due to the situation, they can't really get out right now. So they're saying, you know what, look, my husband not doing it for me, my wife not doing it for me, or my husband won't do this, you do it better than he does, or my wife won't do this, you do it better than he does. Just like the mouth sucker whole thing. She won't go down. I need somebody that's gonna bless me in that manner. So I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna bring something over. We gonna hang out, for 45 minutes an hour a day because that's all I can afford. And I'm gonna bless you. We gonna bless each other. We gonna say gazoon tight. And we gone.
Yeah. Oh, the good old mouth sucker. That's a whole other story. Yeah, you have to be in the counselor's corner to see some of these posts or whatever. But that's real. Now, as far as me asking this, have I ever had a homie lover friend? Yeah, I think when I was younger, you would have people that you would hang out with. You would, as Herb said, creep off. Y'all would do your own thing, and it was always done out of convenience, like kind of like, what you doing? Well, I ain't doing nothing. Come by and get me, or let me come scoop you, or whatever the case is. But then I think as you get older, a lot of stuff has to be calculated and on time. Your schedules have to mesh, and I think once your schedules don't mesh, and someone has expectations of you to do this, and meanwhile you got all this going on, sooner or later when you keep saying, nah, that ain't gonna work for me, nah, I can't do it, I think that's when they say, well, I gotta find somebody else that's more accommodating, because you can't never come through here, you can't do this and that. But when I was younger, yeah, it was a lot of homie lover friends. I ain't say a lot, but it was a fair share that, Friday nights, Saturday nights, or sometimes during the week, you would hang out and you would have fun, and it was just that. It was fun, and it was great. But eventually, in those cases, it never, led to any hard feelings or anything. Some things just died down, or either they start connecting with someone that they start seeing on a regular basis, and you might have did the same thing, vice versa. So it happens. But the key thing is now, because people are still looking for ways to connect, I say that they may have to look for that process of finding someone that they're close to, because we often think about, like, when you start getting older and you say, damn, do I want to be in this? Do I want to get to know somebody I never met, get to know them, got to get to know their family? Or sometimes is it somebody from your past that you already know? Y'all been through it in different relationships, but finally y'all come back together. And as you get older, somehow y'all make a run at it. Because I think when you get in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, meeting somebody brand new, that's a lot of damn work. That's a lot of damn work, which most may not be required to do based on their actual job. If they got children and all that stuff, that they say, I ain't got time for all this. I don't have time for it. So those are some of the things you have to think about.
And I'm gonna read the comment that Marcia Neely posted. She said, I'm not saying that I would deal with multiple men, but I would be very selective in what he brings to the table as far as compatibility, and some form of commitment would definitely be important. Maybe I feel differently because I've been married before. And I think that's an important point. You have a lot of women who are divorcees, and they don't want to go down that path again. There was also somebody in the counselor's corner who made light of that too. She was married for 19 or 20 years. And she says she doesn't have, like you just said, time and energy for that type of relationship. So this becomes a little easier to deal with and a little easier to manage. And I think at this juncture of our life, everybody, on the better side of 45, they're looking for things that complements their life, not makes it more complex. So I'm all for that. People will say, well, that's an easy way. No, at this juncture of our life, we shouldn't be looking for difficult. We shouldn't be looking for hard. We should be looking for easy because all the hard work we should have already done. We should be sitting back in a rocket chair or in the
It's
clam,
a
if you will.
rocket chair.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of having a nice rocking chair, just sitting back, man, with a nice cool glass of lemonade, just on the summer, man, just sitting there rocking the time away. You might have a good book. Some of our listeners like to read. You might be sitting there. I'm indoors playing on the PlayStation or doing some landscaping or I might be bike riding, just listening to a podcast or enjoying the sun. It could be winter. We might be ice skating, might be at a museum, might be doing a bunch of things, you know. But the last thing we want is complex. We want simple. We crave simple. This is why some of us we don't have a problem with the routine being broken up by something, being punctuated by I can't wait till I get out and do this. It gives you something to look forward to. And I think Greenhip said something regarding that. She said, there's the element of excitement when sex is scheduled. And because you're not sharing too many personal details, it's always fun. We're looking for fun. I don't know anybody in this age demographic that isn't looking for fun, that isn't looking for enjoyment or some type of excitement. I know I am.
So let me ask you this, Herb. So if that's the case, when we say that we're in our 40s, about to be 50, then are we really the people in our age group? Are we really looking to court someone? Like to go through all of that and everything? Or we're looking for something like, hey, this is the deal. This is your deal. I'm not out here chasing people like that. I'm enjoying you. You enjoying me. What's your goals? Oh, you want to do this? Let's try to do this together. And y'all become a couple or whatever the case is. Or you saying, damn, I really want to wine and dine her. I want to give her a flower. Send flowers to her job and all that. I'm not saying that you can't do that because people always like, oh, you don't always have to spend money. You don't always have to do that. It's easy for them to say that, but usually when guys are courting or whatever the case is, they coming out their pockets for something.
I think that's an important point. And it's like you always say, KYP, know your personal. So if you want to do that with a female, find a female that is amenable to that. That's what I would suggest. Find a female that is going to allow you to exhibit some aspects of courtship.
Or more so appreciative of it. And
yes, definitely.
And you know that like she appreciates this. So I'll do that for her. Not that it's an expectation, like you need to do this, you need to do that, because no, that shit don't work. That don't work.
And the other thing is if you find a female that's compatible with that, that's appreciative, you may never know. You might come home one day, find dinner ready for you. You might come over her house and say, you know what? You don't have to do anything tonight. I appreciate all the things you've done for me. I've taken care of dinners. House is clean. If you live together, or she might come over, or you might get to the point where she has a key to your house.
So you mean to tell me her? So it's gonna be some woman and I come home and I got a damn sandwich made?
Yeah, you got the sandwich made.
Oh man,
you got the sandwich made, man.
Go stop for her.
You got your favorite Bousson, your slippers. Your lazy boys reclined at the proper position. All she's gonna do is sit there and wait on your hand and foot. So if you want another sandwich made, she's gonna make you another sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be serviced while you're sitting there, she's gonna service you. And in any way, shape, or form, no mouth, no muss, no fuss. She's gonna give it to you. And then at night, she's gonna serve you. She's gonna be your willing concubine, if you will. I think that's a better term than some of the other. She's gonna be there for you because of all the things you've done for her. And this is where our boss Aria's closing statement: fair exchange is no robbery. That's a fair exchange. I think far too often we're looking to get dollar for dollar. In other words, if I spend $10, I want $10 worth of value. Whereas you should be looking for something that is reciprocated. So if I spend $10, I'm looking to have something reciprocated, because you rarely does a relationship work that way. And I'll touch on this. There used to be the old axiom that women would say, I want somebody that completes me. Well, why would you want to get into a relationship if you're incomplete? A relationship, in my opinion, any relationship should be two people that are completely whole, exchanging energies, complementing each other. So if I don't do something well and I got a mate that can, let her do it, and vice versa. So I might go out and spend $40. I'll bring it home. Let's say I go out and do grocery shopping. I buy grocery shopping for dinner. I'm going over my girl's house or whoever's house. I buy $40. That don't look like much.
Oh, you might not want to use that $40. You know that $40. You know what that stands for in this day and age.
Well, I some sum of money. I don't know why 40 came to mind. I just did. And I bring it home and it doesn't look like much. And about an hour later, she serves up just a fantastic meal. She put her foot in it. You saying, you did your thing, but I don't think you could do that with this. And she says, I'm a magician in the kitchen. That's the exchange that at least I always work to look for. And I'll go back to what I said last show, the 100 question. Are you asking the questions that you can get the type of information so you can make that type of decision on your future? Are you prepared to put all your cards on the table? Are you prepared to say you just want a homie lover relationship with no other strings attached? Or are you prepared to say, I want an intimate relationship where we're emotionally connected, we do things together, we co-mingle funds, we live in a house, we take care of the bills together. So when we move into our 60s, if I break a hip, you're going to be there to help me. If you have a stroke, I'm going to be here to help you. Are we going to help each other when we get into our golden years? Because let's face it, this is one of the things that Kevin Samuels talks about. Who are we going to be dependent upon when we get to the point where we're old? And we're all hoping to get to that point at some point in time where we're in our 60s. And if we're not as mobile as we once were, that somebody's going to be there to help us. Because in the end, that's all life is relationship. Whether it's work, personal, professional, family, friends, everything that we do in life is a relationship. So what type of relationships do you want with the people that you're dealing with under your roof? Or that people that come into your life in that way? They say relationships are that they say you meet people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. What do you want that to be?
Yeah, and you said what you said. It's a lot to that, and it made me think about. Typically, everything is fine until someone puts up some type of resistance. When they say, "I can't do that," or you've been told no several times, that's when the issue lies. If everything goes smoothly and it's a yes thing, usually things work out. But as soon as you say, nah, and I'm gonna speak from a man with from a man's perspective, a woman like, oh, I seen this. It's I want to go to this outdoor concert. The tickets aren't that much, whatever. I'll actually get them, whatever. You think we can go to that? And you're like, nah, that's not gonna work. Or I got something else to do. Soon as you give them a couple no's, I think that's when shit go downhill. That's when it go downhill. When you give some resistance. Because also we have to understand as adults that sometimes things just don't work. Sometimes your partner or your homie lover friend may have other obligations. It may be their weekend with their children. They may have promised their children, oh, we're going to go here. We're going to go do that. And or maybe they picked up time at work, or whatever the case is. Maybe they just hanging out with the fellas, going on a fishing trip or doing something. But I think soon as you get some pushback, that's when it becomes an issue with the homie lover friend situation.
And that's always an issue. You have people, like you said, we become set in our ways, and the unwillingness to try something new just it's an anchor around the relationship, and it never moves from one thing. So if all you have is just a sexual relationship, then you're going to want to find another outlet to feed your desires. So let's say the woman goes out and she buys a couple tickets to an outdoor jazz fest or a concert, and you don't want to go. She's going to say, okay, noted. She's going to step out looking fresh, smelling nice, and all of a sudden you're going to get to thinking, well, she ain't taking me. Who is she taking? She might go with one of her female friends. You don't know, but the thought's already been planted in your head as a guy. You're saying, okay, wait a minute. Normally she puts up a fuss. Normally she'll stomp her feet. She'll behave in a petulant manner, but she didn't do it this time. So now you're sitting there contemplating, saying, okay, wait a minute. Do I need to go check up on her and see what she's doing? Even though that's not our relationship. Our relationship is just homie, lover, friend. Even though we do a lot of things together. So she gets back home, she's smiling. She may have had a glass of wine or two, maybe a beer, but it's a little later than normal. You say, wait a minute, where were you at? She said, well, you didn't go to the concert, so I went with someone else. You ask, who'd you go with? Don't worry about it. So now you're mad. And you want to come down on her. You want to say, hey, wait a minute. This isn't what I signed up for. She said, yeah, actually, yes, it is. It's in the contract. You can read the fine print. You didn't want to go. I went with someone else. So now the ball's in your court. What are you going to do? Because some guys will try to do the tit for tat. Well, I'm going to go do this and I'm not going to tell her. She's going to be like, okay. Because women often in those situations, they hold the trump card. Particularly when they know that you desire them for sex. They'll say, okay, you know what? We won't have sex for the next 2 weeks. He doesn't know that because I'm not telling him. But that's the card that I'm playing. You might say, well, that's dealing from the bottom of the deck. This is a situation you put yourself in. So if you don't want to do something with the female that you're in that type of relationship with, and she goes out and do it, then you have to ask yourself, do I need to change, or do I want to risk losing? People, they often go back to what's familiar with them. Like I believe you mentioned that earlier. They're reaching back with something that they don't have to try and rebuild. They already are familiar with it. So it makes it easier to get back in a relationship with them because you know what they are, you know what they do, you know what they're like. You know the kind of decisions that they're making, why, and more importantly, you understand their pathology. So you don't have to guess. You can say, "Well, I know he doesn't like to do this, so I'm not going to tell him I bought tickets. I'm just going to tell him I'm going out with the girls. I'll come back 3 hours later. No muss, no fuss." Conversely, you can't do that with somebody you just meet because now you have to learn them. You have to try and understand who they are, and then you just risk the whole thing blowing up.
A lot to it. And I know one of the questions I had: do you feel you could be in an arrangement like this today? Why or why not?
I personally wouldn't choose it. Like I said, for me, it's rootless. I want something that has some roots, man. I want something that I can look forward to. So if I can't pick up the phone and call, or I can't send a text and get response back in a reasonable time, and that reasonable time, of course, is going to be dependent upon what her work schedule is. So I don't send a text and I expect a reply back 5 minutes later, because sometimes I'll get a text and I might not respond back to it for an hour. Like today, I went and had basketball practice. I didn't look at my phones for 2 hours. So if somebody would have texted me in that time, somebody would have called me in that time, You had to wait 2 hours. I'm out here with my kids, coaching, doing what what I'm doing before I met this individual. So for me, it's always what am I doing, what's going on, and what does my life demand of me that I can find somebody that fits in there. Because I don't my social life is pretty much non-existent. I'll tell you now. I'm between the three things that I do, work, the volunteering, and the mentoring, I'll probably get about 5 to 6 hours a week to be sociable. which really isn't a lot, but I'm okay with that because I know at any time I'm capable of being sociable. Now you have some people who don't know how to be sociable. The sociability muscles have atrophy, so they get in a large group and they just feel so out of place. This is why I was a advocate volunteering, getting out, doing different things. Go for a jog, go buy a bike, go buy some rollerblades, roller skates, go ice skating, go hang out somewhere. Just be somewhere different. You never know who you're gonna meet. You never know what you might see. You never know what you might end up doing. And obviously, you may never know what you might end up liking. Somebody might introduce you to something that you said, I never knew this was this fun. I never knew this was this entertaining. Pick up something, engage, do it. Yeah, but as far as me, it's not something that I would look for. There would be last on my list. Now, if I was just, I needed it scratched and I'm at that point in my life where I can't find somebody compatible, then I'll probably have to start reaching out and doing something different. But this will be last on my list.
And for me, when I look at that, if I was in that situation, I guess it kind of depends on how do you make each other feel when you're around each other. Again, I always talk about laughter, enjoyment, stress-free environments, knowing that without putting the expectations out there and just going with the flow, you may think it back in your head like this can go further places. I'm just gonna go with the flow. This can go deeper than what it is. Of course, you don't start because some people are like, oh, I put it all out on the table from day one. I want to be married by the time I'm this age. I want to do this and that. Well, sometimes that could be intimidating. But in this situation, if it's somebody you kind of already know, you enjoy each other, and you like, ain't nobody been knocking down my doors lately to invite me out, and I really enjoy her. You may ride it out and see what comes out of it. I'm not saying that's the approach for everybody, but that may be something that could make it work or may entice you. So I wouldn't totally shoot it down. I mean, not in the situation I posted a scenario where a woman kind of laid out everything. Now, you're not just going to be laying out all types of rules and regulations and all that stuff, but if we got a nice chemistry and a nice connection, and we kind of KYP know knowing your personnel. Okay, I know he like this. Well, I know he works during this time. I know he normally does this, but I'm gonna check in with him and see. Hey, maybe he want to go grab a bite to eat or whatever the case is, and y'all end up enjoying each other, and y'all have every moment y'all spend together is enjoyment. Then that situation could work without expectations being planted out there, kind of soiled down that you could make a run at it. So I could see where that could happen in certain cases.
I'm going to read two comments. The first one is by Alan Gaines, and the second one is going to be by Christine Brooks. Pardon me. Alan says, too often in today's landscape, people are more concerned with the exit strategy than the entry point when it comes to male-female relationships. Then Christine Brooks says, that's the purpose of the arrangement. There's no expectations to move your schedule around for each other. And I think those two they're interlinked, and I'll show you how. People, like Alan said, people are not necessarily looking for long term. Some people are looking for right now, but they also need plausible deniability to get out. And that's where Christine's comment comes in, is that whoever's involved they're not looking for anything other than that. So they don't care if you can't move your schedule around. They're going to go call the next person on the list. Rarely in these situations does one individual have one individual that they're consistently dealing with. Some might have like they call the backup plan. You know, they got a person who provides sex, they have a person who provides entertainment, they have a person who services them financially. None of them ever meet each other. So they're always around, they're always hovering, and some women will reach back into the friend zone and they will elevate a man to that post. Once the one guy runs his course, they reach back into the pool of their friends and say, "Hey, look, it's your turn. Let's see what you can do." When you run your course, they might reach back into the pool, pull out another man, or they might go find somebody else somewhere else. Hot girl summer, all of this stuff. The guys do it as well. I think there's a lot of guys who have the ability, because not every guy has the same ability. I want to make that clear. There's some guys out here, and you probably heard the term incel, that can't get a woman. You know, he spend more time watching porn and doing other things than he actually is out there actually entertaining women physically for physical intimacy. So there's a lot of things at play here that we don't talk about that are really slowly starting to bubble to the surface that eventually we'll cover on this platform. But I mean, it's a very different world than where we were born and where we came from. To to borrow the old phrase from the show A Different World, and acknowledgement to Bill Cosby getting out after, I believe, a terrible miscarriage of justice. I'm thrilled to say that. I don't care who takes offense to it. That's your problem. But those are the things that we're stuck with. It's a different society, it's a different culture, it's a different time.
Here's another question. Do you think adding sex to a friendship makes it too complicated to remain friends?
Yeah, I think once you cross a certain boundary, that the dynamics change. Pregnancy is always an issue. So if she conceives, now y'all got a dilemma. She's gonna either have a child, might have an abortion, and there's always going to be some type of feelings associated with that. Like I said earlier, it's rare that two people have sex and there's not some type of residue there. Some people call them soul ties. You call it whatever it is you want to, define it however you want to, but there's always that something there that brought you two together, and had both of you decide to engage in that behavior. Rarely have I known two people, unless they're just that drunk, that they get together and they just have sex and they go in their separate ways and nothing's ever said about it. That's rare. So we're talking about the typical situation where two people meet, they have some type of chemistry, and they decide to have sex after being friends for so long. I think that definitely changes the dynamic. Now, to what degree and how the people involved can handle it determines everything. Are the two people involved mature enough to be able to sit down and say, "Hey, look, it was a one-off thing. Let's try to keep this thing on the rails. So if I find somebody else, you don't get upset. Or if he finds somebody else, that those feelings are managed, not suppressed, but managed." There's a difference. You manage your feelings so they don't overburden you. They don't cause you any angst, so you don't get out in public and you start acting a certain way after you've drank a couple. Because, as they say, a drunk mind speaks and behaves in a sober way. I've seen people that I never thought would ever mess around saying, "Well, that's not what you were saying when we was doing this last night." You say, "Oh, wait a minute. That's why she was acting froggy. That's why he was pissed." "Oh, you didn't know?" "No, I had no clue." So it happens. You get people that you least likely thought would be sexual partners, and next thing you know, you got some bad blood.
And again, for me, yeah, we already know there's no absolutes even with this question or anything. Pretty much, besides we live or we die. But I think again, once one of the persons put up some resistance, then that's where the issue comes in about friendships, and then you having sex. It's one of those things that a lot of times you could be. I think it's the secret thoughts that people have
Atlantic
that
Stars, Secret Lovers.
does them in. And sometimes people becomes friends, male or female, because the ultimate goal is, damn, I want this, I, I want to, display this trust in, for her to have this trust in me, and ultimately, hey, we get, things can go down. And I know that may sound harsh, but it's the reality. The truth and the reality of it is that I think most people know more often than not. It just wasn't happening. Oh, we was friends. Then all of a sudden, oh man, we made a mistake. We slept together. This
Mhm.
stuff was in the mental a long time. In every action. Hey, what you doing tonight? Well, I'm not doing anything. Why don't you come over? I cook this, whatever. Hang out. Some of this, a lot of it's calculated. So people can act like, oh man, like oh we crossed the boundary, we shouldn't have did that. But deep down they know this is what they wanted. This is
Yeah.
what they wanted. When you invited me over and you made my favorite meal and you had my drink over there and all that stuff, and you were like, oh, don't worry, the kids ain't here. Oh, you shouldn't be drinking and driving. You might as well stay stay here. You wanted this to happen. You wanted this to happen. So more often than not, I believe, and I'm only the greater percentages is that this stuff was calculated. So put your big boy drawers on and your big girl panties on. And if you get emotional and you realize, oh, our friendship can't be that, but I best believe it was calculated on somebody's part that this is what you wanted to happen. That's just my take.
No, I agree there because I mean, it's especially for a woman, for many women anyway, to go to that length to make sure her children are out of the house if they're staying with her, obviously. For her to prepare you a meal, for her to do all those things, and this is what we mentioned earlier. The value for her. That's her value to you. That's her returning it. She may not want to verbalize it, so she shows you. That's her love language. Acts. So she shows you that she wants you to commit to her. So she does everything to make it easier for you to commit to her. Conversely, a guy will do the same thing. A guy will say, hey, look, I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna cut your grass. I know you like this done. I'm gonna set up your flower bed, I'm gonna do this. That's that guy's love language. He's giving of his time, not necessarily finances, but it's of his time. And now y'all say, okay, look, we've done this song and dance long enough. Why don't we go ahead and elevate this? Because we're already doing all the other things. It's similar to two people who have a kid, but they don't want to get married. That's the most difficult thing of marriage is raising a kid. So why not go ahead and actually make it official? Y'all doing everything else anyway. Y'all co-parent. Y'all show up to the kids' functions. The kids are saying, damn, y'all already mother and father. Why don't you just go ahead and be husband and wife? Might as well, like I said earlier, you might as well reap the financial benefits. Doing it anyway. So why make it more difficult by maintaining two homes, and all the associated costs that come with that rent, electric, gas, food. Make it official. Make it easy on yourself. Sit back, enjoy each other, party on. Like Lionel Richie said in that song, sail on down the line. Get on that ship, man. Each one of y'all grab an oar and y'all paddle. Y'all paddle together. Because I can assure you that anything that you two come up against is much easier to handle with two people than it is with one.
Andrew, my brother Andrew said, I'm presently reading a book called Safe People by Cloud and Townsend. It touches on the differences between what is considered safe and unsafe, along with allowing one to focus on why they are where they are in their relations with people. We are often in a tailspin, or as you say, things are calculated due to not knowing ourselves and what makes us function, or at least being honest about where you are emotionally and mentally. Then Christine said, back to what Eileen said, it's about the exit strategy.
I don't know. See, I've never been a runner. And for me to end a relationship, it has to have become stagnant. And what I mean by that is I don't see anything long term for what I want. So I'm gonna get off. But for me, I never get into a relationship talking about, okay, how am I gonna end this? Then why get into the relationship at all? Just and I've often mentioned Alan Roger Curry's Mo Run. If you just wanna bump uglies, get that in scratches, just put in the contract. This is what we're gonna do. This is when we're gonna do it. It might ruin the spontaneity of it all, but hey, business is business. I mean, it's a transaction. If that's all you want, just put it out there. I've said this before, and I've got kickback. Women, if all you want is sex from a guy, just tell him. If he's amenable to it, he's gonna say, okay, what do we do this? Let's skip all this dinner nonsense, date stuff. We don't need the court. We just need to make sure we're safe so you don't end up pregnant. Let's go do what we do, and we scatter till we meet again. Do you need that itch scratch, or to I feel like I want to scratch that itch, or however it goes down, whoever initiates the contact, whoever's feeling, like they need to be happy, like they need a release.
Let's see, Christine said, when you describe people raising children without being married, but they're doing everything married people do, they don't want to get married because it complicates the ability to leave.
Something I can't speak about. I've never been married, but like I said, when I do, I win and if. Just it's a matter of when. When I do, I'm doing it for life. So this 4-chamber muscular organ in my chest I was beating. That's how I'm giving it up. I'm not getting married to get divorced. I never really understood that whole concept of exit strategy unless something is just that bad. I can understand it, but if you get into a situation with the aspect of getting out, I'm sorry. My mother always, bless her soul, my mother always said, don't start no, won't be none. And I firmly believe that. Don't start no relationship, won't be none. Now, I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people because a lot of people, they move in that direction. They want something. They don't want to be alone. They don't thrive as well. And as humans, we're not really meant to be alone. We're social creatures. I know I do okay when I'm by myself because I live like that. But I also work midnight. So I never really try to compare myself to the average everyday working guy because my needs, wants, and desires, while physically are the same, mentally they're so much different. I don't crave all that human companionship in that manner. I get some of the interaction I need from social media, and because I'm dealing with people at work, I'm always consistently talking to people, so it's really never a lack of conversation that I run into, which is probably it for a lot of people. A lot of people, they want to have that human touch, the human voice. They want to have They want to have the feeling of belonging to something bigger than just them and maybe their immediate family and things of that nature. I do it every day. I go to work. When I deal with the kids, I'm dealing with them in a different way than I deal with adults. So I'm teaching, and also I'm learning. I have staff out there, that are fantastic staff. We just had Wanda come on board, and she's been doing this for 30 some odd years, and she's fantastic with the kids. I'm learning from her. I'm also teaching the kids. So for me, it's never really what am I doing? Am I living my life with purpose? Am I involved? Am I actually doing anything that somebody's going to look back on one day and say, you know what? He's a credit to wherever he goes. He's valued. He's useful. And I think that's a lot of what people fall into sometimes. They don't think they're useful. They don't think they're out there doing anything. And if you happen to be one of those people, I would tell you, go out there and start volunteering. Become somebody. Make yourself somebody. Make yourself valuable. It's easier for men to do it because that's how we actually gain things. We go out and we make ourselves wealthy, or at least, more attracted to a female in the financial system because we're working. But women's a little different because women's calling card is their beauty. So if you have a woman that's physically attractive, but she's never really worked on her intellect, as soon as that physical attractiveness starts to wane, and she hasn't developed the other aspect of her, she's saying, okay, well, geez, is that all I'm good for? And I think that's often what happens is a lot of women fall into that trap of always being pursued, always being the attractive woman. And once they hit a certain age and the looks start to wane, they look around and they see all these women that once weren't as attractive with families, loving husbands, and they're doing things. They're happy. They get to go out on date night with their husbands, and they sit around and just say, "Wow." And they start eating the Haagen-Dazs. They grab that bottle of wine. Well, I'm living life. I'm doing YOLO. Are you? Because the one female that I was talking about, she kind of ended up in that situation. She told me one time that she looks at all of her Facebook friends from high school and they have families and husbands, and she doesn't.
So, see, me, I'm going to look at the exit strategy a little different. I think the exit strategy is the more, and we talked about this before, the more you put people into what you got going on, it's going to open up self-doubt or negative thoughts. Unfortunately, most people don't want to hear it. And a lot of people think of, oh, if you don't talk about it, then you're trying to keep me a secret or whatever the case is. Sometimes it's just basically securing what you have. And knowing your personnel, like, I'm not even going to bring this out to them because they're going to find something. And I can say this, and it may be harsh, but I'm going to say, and quote me, this is nothing I did research on. So if you come in here talking slick in the comments, talking about where did you get that information from? Out of 10 people, probably maybe 3 people going to have something legitimately positive to say that you can bank on. The rest of them, some of them going, either or, like 2 or 3 of them, then it's probably going to be a solid 3 or 4 that just ain't got nothing positive to say. And they're going to find some negativity in the situation. And I'm sorry if it sounds that negative and bleak. That's just what I've observed. And I think I'm very observant. And I know people come back, well, that's your situation. Everybody I deal with is positive. Everybody wants the best for me. Yeah, okay. Believe that if you want to. But I truly believe that it may be 2 or 3 solids. Then you got a couple in the middle of the pack. But I think on the other half, about 4 of them, they probably have something negative to say, and I think that's what people develop that exit strategy from based on who those individuals are to them. If you're a woman and it's your mother or whatever the case is, or your dad, or your bigger brother or sister, or your best friend, and if they don't have nothing good to say, that extra strategy is being written out or planted in your head that whoever that person is, they might not have a fighting chance. It's just my take.
Hey, it's real, man. This is something I'll leave people with. I was having a conversation with somebody via Messenger, and one of the things she said was, I don't know what allure that I have for guys. I don't know what draws guys to me or people for that matter. I said, look at it like this. I said, just imagine if you had to write your obituary, and I believe I mentioned this before. Write your obituary. All the good things, all the bad things, all the things that people might say about you that would attract somebody to you. And look where your holes are. And look to fill those holes. So you will have a more well-rounded life. And I've mentioned this movie before, um, with Morgan Freeman and jeez. And oh jeez, what is his name? Where he plays a guy dying of cancer, and they travel around the world, and he asks a question. I'm just drawing a blank right now. They were asking the question about life, and he told them to find the joy in it. Go find the joy that is in living. Go find something that makes you independently happy. I don't mean your kids, not necessarily your hobbies, although hobbies can be one because you can always meet people doing your hobbies. But just go out into the world, travel, get out from your usual group. You might find somebody that you can travel across country to be your homie, lover, friend. But your venue has changed. So let's say you're in the Midwest, nothing but plains all around you, but you happen to go to a function for business and you meet somebody. Let's say they live in Florida. Let's say they live in Maine. Let's say they live in Seattle or Arizona. I'm picking the four corners of the US. And you go somewhere to Wine Valley. Or you might, hey, look, I've never been skiing. Let's try skiing. I don't want to do skiing. Oh, it's too cold. Go skiing. Taste the wine. Pick the flower. Go sit on the beach underneath the tent, underneath the umbrella, and drink something. But for goodness sakes, go live. We have too many people that have gotten too comfortable doing nothing. And sometimes when you do nothing, you get nothing. And then we wonder why people talk about, well, this place is boring. There's nothing to do. There's nobody to do it with. Well, no, you're the boring one because you refuse to go somewhere. You refuse to go meet different people. You refuse to just do anything that could add a modicum of excitement to your life. So go find a hey, the internet. We all have devices in our hands that connects us to the world. Do it. We have everybody. I don't care who you are. You have the ability to do this. You have the ability to write a book. You have your life. Who knows about your life better than you? Write a book. Even if it's a 30, 40 page pamphlet, write the book. Write the book. You never know who might be interested in what you're saying, even though if you think it might not be worthwhile. Write the book. Do something. Create your value. Don't just sit back thinking, oh, I'm just little old me. I can't make a difference. I don't have anything that anybody wants to say. I don't have anything that anybody finds of value. I'm just, woe is me. Don't. You are people. Sometimes we can be our own worst critic. We can beat ourselves before we even get on the court by the defeatist attitude that a lot of people have. It's embedded. And the way it manifests itself is you don't try to address it.
I had but before I go to the final question, it's raffle time. Yes, I'm about to shake it up, call somebody name out for the $25 stimulus package for being the top participant in the counselors corner. And I truly appreciate your participation on a daily basis and the expertise and the knowledge and experiences you bring. It adds more worth to the counselors corner. So here I am choosing the name. Who's going to be the luck? It might be a repeat winner. You never know. It might be a new winner. But here we go. Here we go. And the winner is, wow. And she's relatively new. Shanice Lawrence. She the winner of the congratulations, Shanice. I'll reach out to you, find out what your Cash App is, and hey, congratulations and keep sharing. You've been dropping some deep posts and referring people to different books and stuff that's related to our daily conversations that we have. So much appreciation to you, and like I said, I'll reach out to you and give you a little shout out, a little spill. But congratulations on being the winner of the June Cash App stimulus package winner. So the final question is, after it's all said and done, and we're gonna get up out of here, if you are in or have been and would consider being in a homie, lover, friend arrangement, what are some of the circumstances that would end it, and would you be able to remain platonic friends if it ended? So that's a question like, what would end it? What would make you say, you know what, this ain't working, it's over, stick a fork in it? But would you still be able to be friends? Would you still be able to hang out, enjoy each other, call each other, or them sharing information about the next person they moved on with? I don't know. Some people ain't about this. Some people say, hey, we still could be civil, but all that conversation, and that's probably going to lean on my side of things. All that conversation and all that stuff, no, we ain't about to do all that. No, we ain't about to do all that. We still cool. There's still peace between us, but I'm not about to sit up there and listen to you bitch and moan about the next person or get caught up in that. I'm going to put my energy and time towards something else, or put more time towards that, because like I always say, if you in your mid 30s, late 30s, 40s, and you're talking about you bored, you better do some soul searching. Because if you know, like I know, this time don't stand still. This shit can just keep ticking and ticking away. And you think you have a lot of time, and you don't. We on borrowed time. We're dealing with house money. So you better find something else to do. When you're 47 years old, like, I'm bored tonight. Who up? Who doing this and that? Get your ass something to do for real. Something require energy and time, or whatever the case is. So in this case, in this situation with this last question, I'm probably going to dedicate my time towards something else. So nah, we ain't going to be homies, hungry like that you could call me and I'm going to come running to you and all that. I'm going to have some other stuff already lined up. That's my answer.
We got a couple of interesting replies. Judy Lynn Jenkins says, no homie relationship and I could stay friends. Christine Brooks answers, one of you wants to get out, and that's in relationship to why the homie lover friend situation would end. And I think often relationships of this nature are a stopgap. And there was a comment mentioned earlier by Breeding Hips that see if I can locate it. That if a person has faced judgment by a parent, family member regarding their partner, they may more be likely to lean towards a casual relationship as opposed to a serious one. And I think that goes back to uh, childhood issues, traumas, and unhealed issues. And you know, I always stress people get into a relationship when you are whole, physically, mentally, and spiritually, so you can have that relationship and be on good terms with yourself. Because ultimately, that's the biggest obstacle to having a fulfilling relationship, even if it doesn't end the way you want, is to go in with yourself intact, like they were saying, so you can actually enjoy that individual without the other things stopping you.
Well, there you have it, man. We not gonna beat a dead horse. We gonna get up out of here. We gonna have our closing comments. And sometimes, and like I said, we just keep it rolling. Sometimes it's me and her. Sometimes it's 7, 8 of us on here. But the bottom line is the conversations are gonna be put out there. They're gonna be put out there consistently, and I appreciate the dialogue that was brought to the table. Y'all brought a lot of interesting points. And remember, I'm no expert. Herb's not saying he's an expert. All we can do is give you, uh, talk about these conversations and give you feedback. At least have these conversations where you can actually see someone and you could, verbally, you could auditory hear them instead of, I mean, I know these conversations are put out there on Facebook and people typing in stuff, but it's a different feel when you go live and you're like, all right, let's have it. Let's do it. It's a different feeling. So, and I think it's valuable to have these conversations because at least I know often after these shows, my wheels are spinning and I'm thinking like, damn, somebody said this, whatever. Okay. So we need to follow up with this. This should be the next broadcast or whatever. And that's how I operate. So it's one thought building off of another. So I appreciate y'all coming on, listening. Again, we always say if you have a topic or some burning conversation, you're like, oh, we got to talk about that, inbox myself or her, and we'll make it happen. If you want to come on the panel, if you want to host the Counselor's Corner, you have the autonomy. I'll sit back and say, hey, let's do it. So don't feel like we strong arm, man. To me, this platform is united, and anybody can come on. And if you got 4 or 5 people on your team that say, "Well, we're going to talk about this subject matter," we can do it, and we'll be on here, and we'll let y'all have y'all reign. That's just how I flow. Because some days I'll be like, man, if I don't got to say much, I'm cool. I'm cool. So, Herb, any closing comments you want to have about this subject matter? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Okay.
All right,
Get
hear you
in
now.
where you fit in. Sometimes where you fit in will not be where you stay. Both an understanding the curves and the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
And for me, homie, lover, friend, it's all about your direction, all about what's in place in your life at that time, and that person may be the right one for you at that time. The ultimate goal is to try to build and to try to grow. And we talked about, I think it was last week when you said we don't want to make it seem like you're using anyone and all that, but we know that we have to utilize and I like to say interdependence and build on each other's strengths. So if it's something that you guys communicated and it works for you and you're stress free, then have at it, because you know that sooner or later it could end up being everything that you wanted. So just don't dismiss it. A lot of times we think that this is just some young person and you're gonna go out and meet Prince Charles, or Princess Diana or something, and everything's gonna work out. No, it's gonna be more. It's gonna be some work into everything you do. But I would say, at least with this, it may be a chance that you maybe kind of a shortcut way that you kind of already know this person. You may even know their family members, and y'all might have a mutual respect for each other that makes it last. But now y'all just want to elevate the game and take it a little further based on your age or based what's going on in your life. So that's it. We're out. Wishing everybody happy 4th of July, Independence Day, or whatever the case is. Not sure I'm going to be on here on Monday. Usually after like a Monday holiday weekend, like Memorial Day, 4th of July, or something, depending on when it's fall. We might have to just come back Thursday with open court discussions instead of cocktail conversations. And there is a difference. Open court discussion, usually we put out a topic and it can run the myriad of different things we talk about. And with cocktail conversations, it's usually an isolated scenario, and we kind of hone in on that. So I'll let you know, but more than likely Monday it'll be a holiday break, and we'll come back full throttle on Thursday. So bring your team, bring your people, but furthermore, everybody be safe. I know it's probably going to be hot. Please make the right decisions. Please be around the right people, not irritants that's going to cause you to drink or do whatever, and we end up with, you know, the story, black on black crimes or whatever. Or we got some, you know, Caucasians in here listening. Nobody should die, period. It should be a time that families come together and enjoy each other and have a good time. So with that said, everybody be safe, do the right thing, and let's just enjoy the time. Many of us have days off, so that's always appreciative, but let's do it the right way. All right, folks, we out of here. Thank you all.
Don't forget to go over to YouTube and hit the like button.
Yeah, hit that like button. Please like and share, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Christine said, man, I'm fine. Look for my cat. I hope you're not kidnapping cats. Oh, man. All right. We out of here. See ya next time, everybody.
Take care.
Peace and love.